I had a medical emergency while welding yesterday that gave me convulsions. I went unconscious and I bit my tongue in two places and drew blood. This was a really big deal for me and my family, and it's something that I want to share so that I made a post on social media. I think it scared a bunch of people for good reason. I was in a pretty rough place, and I wanted to share what happened and what we know from all the testing at the doctor's office and things that I'm going to change in the shop to do my best to avoid this from happening again. So I'm in the middle of TIG welding a bunch of stuff yesterday for the van that we're building. And I'm TIG welding aluminum, and as I'm TIG welding, I just don't feel myself. I feel a little weird, but sometimes your blood sugar goes up and you get tired, you just feel weird. It's just part of being a human. So at first it was just part of being a human level, and then it got to the point where I was starting to feel major deja vu about like everything. And I kind of started to feel like I was in between a dream state and reality. But I still am just like, dude, I've got a lot of work to do today. Just stay focused. So I'm TIGging, and then I get this feeling like if I don't leave, if I don't drop what I'm doing and go up to the house right now, might not make it up to the house. And then I start to get a little bit scared. Like, oh crap, this is not good. So I take all of my PPE off. I start to walk up the hill to my house, and on the way up, I realize I have no idea what time it is. I don't know if it's the morning. I don't know if it's the evening. I don't know. I don't remember if my wife is supposed to be home, but I'm just hoping she's in there so that I can tell someone that this is happening. Nick was working in the shop. No idea why I didn't decide to tell him. I just felt compelled to get up and leave. So when I got to the house, I sat on the couch. I just kind of yelled for my wife. She came down, and I said, listen, there's something seriously wrong, and I'm having a really hard time placing where I am, in space. She's like, do you want to go to the doctor? Most people would say, hey, your wife should have said, you're going to the doctor. She's told me that many times and I didn't go. This is one of those moments where I said, yeah, absolutely. And then she knew how serious it was because I, like many people watching this, avoid the doctor for a whole slew of reasons, which we're not going to cover in this video. So when we're on our way there, I fear that it's a heart attack. It's one of my first reactions was this might be a heart attack just because of weird numbness. I didn't feel sweaty or anything, but I felt shortness of breath. I'm 41. I don't feel very stressed out, but I know I have a certain level of just background hum stress in my life. I own my own business. I'm constantly trying to do this thing, be a good dad, be a good son, be a good brother, all that. And so just the normal stress of life. But it was still undeniable what I was feeling and how confused I was. I didn't want to worry my wife. She was already driving fast because she was concerned, and I was as well. And so once we got to the hospital, that's when I let her know, I think I might be having a heart attack. I just kind of told her my symptoms, and I just told her this is more serious than I originally thought it was when I was just kept welding. So let's go into the hospital and we'll approach it with that first, that we fear that I might be having a heart attack. I sit in the waiting room for 2.5 minutes before they call my name. I guess if you say heart attack in a hospital, they take you very serious. So they take me back to the first room. They're checking me in. And as time is going on, I'm losing more and more touch with reality. On the outside, I probably still seemed like I was communicating okay, but I was struggling big time to find words. And then when the nurse asked me, do you know what month it is? And I thought, and I realized I can't name a month. And I am so confused at this point with just what is going on around me. And then I think about it, and I'm like, well, my birthday's in June. It can't be June. And then I just guess May. So I didn't know the month. There was this weird delay, whereas usually when you need to recall something like that, it's right up in the forefront of your mind. And that was scary. So then she said, do you mind waiting in the waiting room? And I said, no problem, but I think I need assistance, to get out there. Because I could just tell. I was having a very difficult time. It was there's reality and there's dream space, and I was riding right on the line of it. So many different random things that I would see were giving me deja vu feelings, like I had dreamt them. And it was incredibly bizarre to navigate through that world of feeling kind of like you're asleep and kind of like you need to go to sleep. It was bizarre. So anyway, they wheeled me out in the wheelchair. Again, I'm sitting for like a minute and a half. I'm thinking, all right, here we go, waiting at a hospital. Boom, they get me right back into another room. And they're like, we're going to do I'm pretty sure it's called an EKG. I'm not very like medical literate, so forgive me. So they're going to basically check my heart because we said the word heart attack. So they want to make sure everything's okay. As the nurse, and I remember the nurse asking me about taking off my shirt, and I'm like, no problem. And then I wake up and I'm surrounded by like 10 plus doctors. I keep saying 20, I'm exaggerating. It was seriously, I'm in a different room now. I like time traveled. There's like nurses working fast to try to get me an IV, prick my finger. They're like doing all this stuff around me. And then there's a doctor in front of me asking me questions. And I just kind of come to, and I hear the nurse's voice that was about to do the EKG earlier say, he started having, he went unconscious and started having convulsions, and my tongue really hurt. And when I heard her say that, I all kind of started to come back. Oh, that's right. I'm in a hospital. I'm like, my tongue hurts. I taste blood. I must have like bit my tongue when I went unconscious. And there's this doctor just like hammering me with questions, trying to get as much information out of me as quickly as possible. And it was just this big, huge, shocking ordeal. And so they're prepping me for tests, all this stuff. They draw blood. First time I've ever had an IV. They're just like, boom, like putting fluids in me, all this stuff. And then they take me to another room. And then they ask, do you want your wife and son to come back here? And I just say, like, give me just a few minutes. They're like, I don't want my wife to see me like this. Because I was scared, legitimately. I was still thinking I was having a heart attack or something. I just knew something was incredibly wrong. And it didn't feel like I was dosed with drugs or anything like that. It felt like I was just losing touch with reality, what was going on around me. And so they come in and they say, your heart's fine. We're going to schedule, we've already got you on the schedule for a CAT scan, and we're going to do it really soon. So that was a relief that my heart's fine, but it still begs the question of what the hell is going on. So I get myself together and they ask if I want my wife back there. I said, yeah, absolutely. Bring my wife and my son in here. And I just kind of start talking to him. And then in that moment, like kind of freshly awake, I say, I might not have a video for a while because of this. I'm just always work-minded. And I said, can you film me just kind of announcing to social media that I'm like in the hospital and you might not hear from me for a little bit because I just don't know what's going to happen. The doctors seemed concerned. Everyone was concerned, including me. And I wasn't sure what they were going to find and how long that was going to make me stay in a hospital. So she breaks out the phone and she records this video.
Go for it.
Hi. I was welding today and I had some sort of an episode. And now I'm at the hospital. I guess I bit my tongue and was convulsing, so that's not good. My wife's scared. I think I'm too out of it to be scared. Probably won't be a video this week, but my wife said we can post this video once I'm out of the hospital. But the doctor said I get to stay here all night.
To have a sleepover.
I know I sound like I'm on drugs. I'm on nothing. I just feel very strange. And I feel a little euphoric probably from the convulsing incident. So, we'll see you soon. I post this video on social media, and then my phone just starts exploding with everyone in my life that's like close to me, just making sure I'm okay. It was incredibly touching and emotional, and everyone online, so many nice things. So now we're at the point of the video where we should talk about like what happened. So I went and got a CAT scan. let's just talk about everything we know, and then we'll talk about what I think happened. I went and got a CAT scan. They scanned I think like waist to head. I was in just a big tube, and it was just doing its thing. They found a calcification on my lung. They said it's possible that it's just like scar tissue from when I was a kid. Should have nothing to do with this. My blood. I had like a urinalysis done. There's clearly no drugs or anything. They did the blood analysis, and when the final doctor came in and was talking to me and asked me a bunch of questions, they're like, "Do you smoke or anything?" And I was like, "No, I don't. I've never smoked. I've never smoked. Maybe at a bar once, like when I was 21, I might have smoked a cigarette with a buddy or something like that, but I don't." And he said, "Well, then you need better ventilation in your shop because we can see something going on in your." I believe it. It is difficult for me to recall all this information, but I believe it had something to do with my blood panel. If that's even what you call it, medical people, let me know in the comments. Either way, whatever they did with my blood to analyze what was going on, they had seen that, and they thought that I might be a smoker. The fact that I'm not is very telling because I have phenomenal air quality where I live. I've got many acres of forest that I'm walking through and working in all the time. So for my shop air quality, even with the doors open, to be that poor that they can tell that there's something up, that's a red flag. But we might be able to explain that. Anyway, they pump me full of 3 huge IVs of liquid to get me back on my way and to get me healthy. They say that I was dehydrated, which is crazy because I drink so much more water than so many people I know. And my wife was shocked because she sees how much water I drink and how little water she drinks. But the reality is it doesn't matter how much water you drink. You need more if you're dehydrated. So today I've just been pounding water. So anyway, I get out of there. I come home. I'm answering text messages from friends. I'm just very relieved that I didn't have to stay at the hospital. I do not like hospitals. And my buddy Bobby sends me a message. And I'm going to read this to you right now. It says, metal fume fever. Breathing in heavy concentrations of welding fumes can cause conditions known as metal fume fever. The cause: aluminum welding requires a high amperage, which creates significant smoke and vaporized metals, especially if the aluminum has paints, oils, or coatings on it. I was TIG welding aluminum earlier that day. I had all the doors open. I had my little fan in my grinding room going. So we had a little bit of air movement, but not a ton. Anyway, the next thing it says, the reaction. In severe cases of toxicity or acute exposure, symptoms can escalate beyond flu-like aches and include severe systemic reactions, seizures, or convulsions. Well, I had I don't know the difference between seizures and convulsions, but I heard the nurse say that I went unconscious and was having convulsions, and I bit my tongue, which I've heard happens when you have seizures. So this sounds very likely. Something did happen earlier that day that I think this is a good warning for everybody watching this video. If you don't know any better, you cannot weld brake clean. So I had Nick, I'm filming the van video, but I've got Nick working on Rustin Hoffman, and we're building a hybrid pitman arm in order to get everything that we want for it. And so he cleans up 2 pitman arms, and I can smell, I'm in another part of the shop, and I can smell brake clean, and my ears go up. I usually don't even have brake clean in the shop. I prefer to clean everything with acetone. It's cheaper. It's very clean to weld on. I prefer acetone. So then I run over to the grinding room like, dude, you cannot clean those pitman arms with brake clean. I'm about to weld those. And he apologizes, and I let him know. I tell him, okay, well, we still have to weld it. So how do we treat these? Douse them with acetone, wipe them super good, and just clean them over and over with acetone to try to thin out whatever BS is left from the brake clean. Brake clean is dangerous if it's chlorinated, very dangerous. I don't know if it's as dangerous when it's not chlorinated. I've heard people say you can weld on brake clean when it's not chlorinated. I have never once welded on brake clean because I've gotten the warnings, and I know someone personally that welded brake clean and went to the hospital. So I'm extremely conscious about this. So anyway, as I'm TIG welding this airbox that I'm building for the van, Nick gets everything cleaned up. He rolls the cart out so that in between shots, I can burn together this pitman arm so we can get this truck on the road. And I weld the pitman arm, and he had cleaned up the pitman arm. We're hoping good enough to get all the brake clean off. He didn't think about cleaning off the surface of the table. So it's very possible, and I was burning it hot, really hot. This is as hot as my machine can weld. So it's very possible that what happened here is a combination of things. If you know, let us all know in the comments, because there's going to be a community of people reading these comments. Can you safely weld brake clean if it's non-chlorinated? I'm not sure. I'm getting kind of mixed stuff whenever I look into this. So I think what happened is I was dehydrated, which made me more sensitive and susceptible to these kinds of things. And it's very easy to pass out if you're dehydrated, things like that, right? I breathe in this brake cleaner. By looking it up online, if you do weld brake clean, you can get the symptoms from it up to 6 hours later. It could just hit you. So I'm done welding the brake clean. I flip my chair around. I hit the camera. I start TIG welding this aluminum air box. And as I'm welding it and as I'm messing with it and I'm working it, that's when it all starts to just spiral. And I really start to not feel like myself, and it's just not good. So I think that it's a combination of those three things. So I know that there must be still a lot of people out there that don't know you can't weld brake clean. It's not a good idea. And for me personally, even if it says non-chlorinated, I've just seen some people in my personal life that have had ill effects from this. So I stay away from it. I really would love to have one of those big snuffleupagus hose fume extraction things in the shop. They're like 16 grand for like the big nice Miller one. What I did this morning, my wife and I were talking about a path forward. I'm going to put fans up in the peak of my shop, and so that when I'm welding, I can hit those fans. The thing is, you don't want a ton of draft in your shop when you're welding. That welding gas is incredibly important, and it is shielding your molten puddle of weld to keep it from getting porosity, to give you a good, strong weld like you're supposed to have. If you just put fans on you while you're doing this, you're going to ruin the weld. You won't even be able to weld. So I want to have a little bit of draft to carry the fumes out, but it's a fine line. So that's why I think I'm going to start with a couple of fans up in the peak of the roof line of my shop, so that as I open up all the doors and stuff and I hit those, it's just going to hopefully be always extracting fumes or anything up and out. I ordered some like welding specific masks this morning that will hopefully be here in the next few days. And I'm going to start wearing those when I weld. I personally, I've been messing around with metalworking since I was 19, and I'm 41 now. So it's a lot of years of experience building different vehicles, working in other people's shops, and I have never once heard anyone mention that there is this danger with welding aluminum where you can breathe the fumes off of it and you can get that weird condition. So this is kind of like a awareness thing. God, I still feel weird. My skin feels weird. I feel like I'm just like touching my everything. It's been a day, but I think I need like a couple naps and just boatloads more water, and I'm going to start to feel more like me. But anyway, I just wanted to spread like what happened to me. I'm going to get roasted online about this, about how I'm an idiot for not knowing this and whatever, but this is just the reality. I'm not going to hide anything from you guys. I have no reason to. One of the beautiful parts about being 41 instead of 21 is that I really don't give a shit. If people want to make fun of me for stuff like this, I'm going to share it anyway. I'm not going to hide from it, because I know that there is a ton of people who watch this channel that are learning how to do this stuff. And I'm not an expert. I'm just a couple years ahead of them. So as I figure some of this stuff out, I want to like share it with some of you so you don't have a scary time in the hospital. And heaven forbid, I was really unhealthy and I did have like a proclivity to heart issues. And then this exact same thing happened. Will that kick off some sort of a heart attack? Could this spin off some sort of a diabetic episode if you're diabetic? I don't know. But I know that the more people that have this information and understand it, the more people are going to be able to plan ahead before they start messing around with welding aluminum and whatever else. and the less people are gonna have to go to the hospital for it. So I got my little magic wristband that you only get when you go to the hospital. I'm gonna go cut this off. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm gonna continue to answer all these wonderful text messages from people who care about me, and I might see you Sunday. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.